Mercury's turning retrograde in Scorpio on Halloween. Like, you can't make this shit up, right? So Scorpio, as the fixed water sign, has to do with the ways that the zodiac achieves transformation through vulnerability and intimacy. So what I wanted to do in this video is review the anatomy of intimacy with you so that we can really maximize the most of this Mercury retrograde transit. I love the way that Esther Perel reframes intimacy as into me, you see. And with Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, we want to review the anatomy of intimacy through its following three cornerstones: love, sexuality, and eroticism. Now, in your intimate relationships, you might not have sexuality or eroticism. You might just have love, or you might have the two, not all three. But we're going to review all three anyway to make the most of this Mercury retrograde in Scorpio until November 20th.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me no more.
I don't know how to define love, but I don't need to because Scorpio Dr. Brene Brown already did. Here we go. We cultivate love when we allow our most vulnerable and powerful selves to be deeply seen and known. And when we honor the spiritual connection that grows from that offering with trust, respect, kindness, and affection. Love is not something we give or get. It is something that we nurture and grow. A connection that can only be cultivated between people when it exists within each of them. We can only love others as much as we love ourselves. Shame, blame, disrespect, betrayal, and the withholding of affection damage the roots from which love grows. Love can only survive these injuries if they are acknowledged, healed, and rare. So as you heard, love is not just an emotion that we're supposed to experience. It is a verb that we're supposed to put into practice, right? And we can do that through Dr. Brene Brown's definition. We can also do that through the Gottman device known as the bid for connection, registering how our partners are reaching for closeness to us and responding and accepting no less than 86% of the time. And we can also update another Gottman device known as the Love Map. And the Love Map is the storage facility of all the important details of our partner's lives, and then languaging those important details to our partner so they can hear that they matter to us. And that could be something as simple as, I know it's the 2-year anniversary of your grandmother passing coming up on Sunday. Is there anything you would like to do to honor her? Or you can just follow up and say, I know there was an important business meeting today. How did that go? Was that difficult coworker there? Do you want to talk about it, right? So that partners can hear that you're paying attention to them and that they matter to you. So I know curious communication skills are an endangered species nowadays, but that doesn't give us the right to not cultivate the skills of languaging love to partners so that they can know how deeply they matter to us. Now that we covered love, we can talk about sexuality. And in astrology, whenever we're talking about Scorpio, we often review the underworld and the 8th house and the kind of dark mystical spaces, which confirms the fact that sex is not a thing that we do, but it is a place that we go. And when we're there, we have to engage with the following 6 relational verbs: ask, receive, give, take, refuse, and share. Pleasure. Right? How do we operationalize those 7 verbs in pleasure while we are having sexual experiences with others? This is where we want to get really curious about both the quality behind our sexual experiences and our desires behind our sexual experiences so that we can be our most authentic and vulnerable selves, right? Invite other people to see within us, right? Intimacy, into me, you see. And that foundation of radical Scorpio honesty is what contributes to the highest tenor of our Scorpio-ruled sexual experiences. And the last value of intimacy is eroticism. So the mystics define eros, eroticism, as the quality of feeling alive. It is that generative life force that we feel and experience when we're engaging with meaningful sexual pleasure with another. And in that space, we've returned to our body, we have transcended the normal, mundane experiences of life, and thus we are brand new, we are transformed because we are in that space of pleasure, connection, and joy. Okay? The mystics also understood that the primary organizing value of our eroticism is our imagination, okay? And so Mercury retrograde in Scorpio allows us to reimagine our sexual experiences and transform sexuality with our imagination and thus find our eroticism. Now, I understand that there are many watching who have shame, trauma, harassment, and abuse that are attached to their sexual experiences, and I want to acknowledge the complexity and the severity of that. I would also like to say that with Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, it actually gives anybody who falls under that category of sexual assault survivor or people who still have shame attached to their sexuality the opportunity to transcend that pain and ultimately reclaim their lost pleasure. I really do believe that. And I know that because Esther Perel writes often on how the erotic is the antidote to death, and how when researchers are studying eroticism, they also have to understand trauma. These are two sides of the same field of interest, and that's so 8th house, that's so Scorpio. So I think we're going to be navigating that extensively from now until November 20th. And I'll leave you with this prompt by Mexican poet Octavio Paz in his book, The Double Flame, because Octavio was a poet of erotic mysticism. And I think that we need to reclaim this mystical language in contextualizing sexual intimacy and erotic experiences so we can really ground ourselves in the truth of its power and then ask ourselves how we can live into this while Mercury is retrograde in Scorpio. He writes, "The act in which the erotic experience culminates, orgasm, is inexpressible. It is a sensation that goes from extreme tension to the most complete self-surrender, and from single-minded concentration to the forgetfulness of self, the reuniting of opposites in the space of a second, the affirmation of the ego and its dissolution, ascent and fall, there and here, time and timelessness." May Mercury retrograde in Scorpio provide you with the pleasure and the joy and the healing that you deserve, and I appreciate you watching this video. Thank you.